just always seems like
Get
somebody
ready for
starts
family vacation.
yelling
with
under
personal
the-
Yeah, those kicking country guys, they're rowdy.
They're having fun, man.
Any Nissan deal around. We are expanding
Let 'em
our
have
used car
fun.
inventory. It
Right?
changes daily. Visit
Yep.
us at StephenWaiteNissan.com to view all of our new and used inventory. If we-
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, it's 8:36 on News Radio 94.9, 890 KDXU. Here's your St. George real estate guru, it's Jeremy Larkin.
Good morning. Hey, I was hoping you were actually going to run with the, hey, it's Southern Utah's most accurate real estate forecast. That's what you said about Craig Gifford.
That's right.
I don't know about that. That's what we want. We want that same kind of credibility. Good morning, everybody. Jeremy Larkin, host of the St. George Real Estate Morning Drive. Happy to be here. Happy to be in studio and share with you, honestly, the good news of real estate. And today we're going to help you, like, really stay out of trouble online, on the old internet, right? Help you stay out of trouble with the information. There's so much information. There is so much information. I mean, you realize that Google it is a verb now, right? It's just a verb, and you just Google it. Yeah, just Google it. Now we're gonna Google. I've got Jesse Paul here.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, co-host, business partner, friend, brother. Gosh, super funny guy. There you go. Jesse, listen. He says he's without his coffee. What's he gonna do without his coffee?
I either have a water bottle or a coffee cup in my hand all the time.
Yeah, nonstop. I don't like it's. Yeah, it's your stage presence. You need to have something. And you really do.
It's
And
my
the,
whoopee.
and the funny thing is, it is, and you leave the water bottle and coffee mug all over the office too. It's funny. And then he comes traipsing back in. Hey, happy that you're with us this morning. It's the 25th of April, 2019, and part of the reason we timestamp that is we're broadcasting the show right now on Facebook Live, which is easy enough. But we're also broadcasting on YouTube Live, and then we will upload this to our podcast. So we want to make sure that people know what we're talking about and when we're talking about it, because the real estate market is like constantly in flux. I mean, Jesse, do you think there's another business in which the whole entire business environment is being reinvented as often as real estate? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm
do
sure
dentists,
there- I'm
do
sure there
dentists?
is, but it's not as
Yeah.
public as real estate.
Yeah, I mean, would dentists go, oh man, the dental market's down. You know what, with everything that's going on in Washington DC with the new presidential thing, people stop getting their teeth cleaned, right?
That's a good point.
Like,
But-
that doesn't happen.
And that's interesting too, because your teeth are just as personal as your home.
Thank you. Oh, I mean, I thought you were complimenting my teeth.
We do have pretty teeth.
Thank you, man. Top of the morning, Jessica, good morning. But, you know, I mean, Andy, is that a fair point? I mean, as a guy who's, I mean, I'm gonna call you a layperson, you're not in the real estate business with us.
Right. But I think that's a fantastic illustration of what it's like, because
It really is.
it does not affect everyday life for most people like it does the real estate market.
Yeah, correct. And you know, it's wild because the same with radio. And here's maybe a valid point. I understand that people might increase or decrease their radio spend, like advertisers who are spending money on the radio
That's true.
based on economic conditions. But people don't go, yeah, you know, man, with everything that's going on in Congress, I decided I won't listen to the radio anymore. Or, man, the stock market's up, I just think, I don't think I'm gonna listen to the radio. Well, the stock market's down. Like, that's just static. Most of our habits, but real estate, it's crazy. It is completely, every 6 months we have to reinvent.
Well, and actually, there's one other market that is probably going through the same thing, and that's the stock market. But if you
Correct.
back up and look at that from a macro point of view, it's because that affects the whole world.
Yeah, sure does.
A mortgage in St. George, Utah could affect a bond sold in Germany.
Yeah,
So,
actually, it could.
so that, I think.
I mean,
that-
you're stretching it, but I'll give it to you.
Well, kind of, because they're sold, I'm going deep there.
Yeah, I think you went,
But-
you got real deep.
But you
I
can
gotta
see
tease this
why,
guy.
but you can see why it's
Mhm.
that way, because getting my teeth cleaned doesn't affect somebody across the world.
No, it doesn't.
And it never will.
And the real estate market, it is front and center. People are thinking about it all the time.
Right.
That, you know, people have to live in a home, they've gotta buy one, they've gotta own one, sell one, rent one. They have to do something. Everybody needs a place to live, and that's just the way it is. So, you know, as we move in, this has been a really interesting time. I got a text message on my way in here from a fellow who's actually a real estate broker out of California.
Mhm.
He said, hey, do you think anybody's interested in my crazy home in Bloomington? Well, his crazy home in Bloomington is a vacation rental that is completely illegal. Now,
Is that the 10,000 square foot one?
yeah, well, hey, come on, let's not give too much information out. There's lots of 10,000 square homes.
There is.
Anyway, you know, and I haven't spoken with him because I went on the air. But this is the kind of text we get. Do you think anyone in your buyer pool is interested in my crazy home in Bloomington? Well, here's why he would be interested in selling it. Because the city is most likely barking at his door, right? Knocking at his
Right.
door. Yeah, and so, when the city forgets about it and they don't talk about it, then he puts tenants in his home. It's a vacation rental and it works really great. But these are the strange issues. So the city of St. George right now, Washington County, there's this big push for regulating vacation rentals. Two things we've talked about in the program. There's a big push to build vacation rentals in the county, but there's also a big push from, like, I guess we'd call it local government, to make sure that we are restricting or controlling or maybe even regulating, right? We talk about a pressure reducer or pressure regulator valve in plumbing.
I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, they're trying to regulate it so we don't end up with, what's happening, which is way too many vacation rentals in Washington County. Way too many. I just sold the Hammond's place, Coral Springs.
Mhm.
I want to tell you guys a quick story. We sold a vacation rental over in the Coral, I want to say Coral Ridge, but it's Coral Springs. It's over there next to the liquor store in Hurricane. I know that it's Hurricane, it's a funny place to think that that's Hurricane, because to me, that just doesn't seems like no man's land where that liquor store is out there at exit 16. It doesn't even feel like any city at all.
I always get a kick out of where Utah puts their liquor stores, because
Yeah.
if you go in any other state, they're right downtown where everybody can get you.
Yeah, man, they
In
hide it.
Utah, we hide them.
They hid that thing. They put that thing out there like they're gonna have to drive. So, we sold their vacation rental, and these are local folks, and a lot of our listeners will say, hey, do you think we should invest in a vacation rental? This is a question we get all the time. Well, they just sold it, and it was amazing, because they're super happy, and we sent them out of there quick.
I'll bet they were
Yeah.
happy. They were talking about selling it a couple of years ago, and thankfully they didn't at that time.
Yeah, it would've sold for $240,000.
Right.
We sold it for almost $300,000 and sold it in a couple of weeks. Now, the issue is for them, they were competing with, so this is where we talk about these local trends, and we talk about avoiding the Zillow trap momentarily. They found that they were now competing, the Cole West, which is a big developer here in town, well, statewide, probably, I don't know how big they are. The Cole West was developing their own brand new vacation rentals on the other side of the highway there in Coral Canyon. And then they couldn't get their place rented out, because Cole West, everybody go to the Cole West units first, and then they'd go to the Cole West managed units next, and then lastly, they would go to their unit. And these people just said, this just doesn't even make sense.
Mhm.
Now, it made sense 5 years ago, and it might have made sense 12 months ago. And the crazy thing about real estate is it might make sense. It changes, but just understand that we're in a market that's constantly changing, and here's the big change. The big change that's been happening, but it seems acute right now, is the information online. How much information, Jesse?
Anything you wanna know, if you know how to find it, you can find it.
Yeah. Talk to me
Almost
about,
anything.
let's talk about real estate. What's the challenge for the listeners?
Well, the challenge with the listeners is there's too much information. And I'll give you a good point of that. If somebody doesn't really know how real estate works or how evaluation works, they could go on Zillow, for instance, and look at the Zestimate, and especially in the state of Utah, that may or may not be accurate by quite a bit. Now, I can't find the data on that, but Utah is a non-disclosure state.
I can tell you, well, guess what I can find for you? I can give
Can
you
you
Zillow's
find
data.
Utah? Can
I
you
can
find
give you
Utah?
Zillow's data this morning.
On Utah?
I can tell you exactly what, how do you think our listeners would wanna know?
I wanna know.
Do you think that our listeners would want to know, by the way, do you know what a Zestimate is? I'm sure you do, Andy?
I do.
Yeah, well, how would you describe a Zestimate in English language terms?
Well, Zillow's estimate of what your house is worth.
Okay, perfect, man, that's brilliant, okay? And that's fun to have you in studio, because you're a consumer, right, you're a homeowner.
Yes.
So this is really interesting. If you head on over to Zillow.com and plug in your address, they're gonna estimate a value for you. So, if you visit Zillow.com/Zestimate, they will, it's interesting because Zillow has so much information that it's almost impossible to plow through the website in a logical format.
That's great.
It's like going to a car lot that's all of the car lots in St. George on one lot. Like, it's just, wow, this is wild. Well, here's the issue. We wanna help people avoid the Zillow trap. And the Zillow trap is that you go to any online, we're just gonna beat up on Zillow because they're easy to beat up on. But you go to any online resource thinking that the resource is the solution because it was online, you know? And kind of like trying to solve all of our relational problems by reading blogs, posts on the internet. Shoot, I've definitely read some, right? So Zillow.com/Zestimate, they estimate in every state, and every city, and for every address in the United States, the value of their home.
Wow.
So what happens is people go in there and they obtain that information, and using that information, they make buying and selling decisions, okay? They might make the decision to sell a home, or to not sell a home.
Yep.
Or to buy a home, or not buy a home. Or maybe they use the information to decide that they think their realtor sucks. And this is real, right? Well, Zillow said it was 440, Jesse.
It happens every day.
Yeah. Zillow said it was 440, why do you say it's only 420? Right, which we're not gonna answer that question, because that's a whole separate. But does that happen to us?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I looked at Zillow, or I spoke to 7 other agents. Zillow has something called, and this is so fun, Zestimate Accuracy Table. All right, I'm going to read to you. The Zestimate accuracy depends on the location and availability of data in an area. Some counties have deeply detailed information on homes such as number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage, and others do not. The more data available, the more accurate the Zestimate value. Let me ask a question. Do you guys think that the Zestimate information would be more accurate based on Washington County being a rural, 160,000 person county? Do you think it would be more or less accurate than, say, Los Angeles, California?
Less.
Yeah, right.
I can't even imagine it being accurate. I mean,
Right.
when you said they estimate every house in America, how could they possibly be
Yeah.
accurate?
So here's what it literally does, it can't be. So what happens is they take all this information from tax records and then whatever real estate agents supply to them, and it essentially, it averages it out, you know, and this is a funny analogy, but it's like saying, well, you know, Andy's 6'3" or 4", you're pretty tall, man.
5.
6'5", geez, man. Jesse's 5 foot what?
10, I don't know.
Well, if you divide those two, you come up with an average, and that's the average height in St. George.
6'1.5"
Yeah.
is the average.
So that would be a pretty silly indicator of the average height, right?
Right.
That we took 2 people, and we said that this is now the average height of everyone in Washington County. We'd want a better, data gathering. So here's what happens, I'm gonna read the rest. Zillow's accuracy has a median error of 5%, okay? Meaning, hey, it's plus or minus 5%, okay? This means half of the home values in the area are closer than, let me move on here. It gets confusing for people, only because if you're not reading it. But they're plus or minus 5% accurate is what they say. Well, here's what they did. They produced their accuracy table, and they said, this is how accurate on a scale of 1 to 5 we are in every state in the United States, okay? The Zillow Zestimate accuracy table. 1 star means we weren't very accurate at all. 5 stars means we're crushing it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the comments on the Facebook Live.
I think you
Just
should.
the link. so
Oh,
people
I have
can
an
see.
image of, I even have an image, you can put it in
So
there.
people can,
Check this out, here we go. Let me tell you where they're really doing a nice job. In Maryland, they're at 4 stars. This is their self-rating. They're at 4 stars. In Arizona, they're 4 stars. Doing pretty well down there. They're running 4 stars in Nevada, not surprising, and in Virginia. Well, that's interesting. Zillow's self-accuracy rating for the state of Utah was 1 of 5 stars.
Ouch. That's not good. Would you watch a movie if it was rated 1 out of 5?
No,
I wouldn't
come on,
either. No.
come on. Would you buy something on Amazon? Geez, if
No.
it's not 4.5, you don't buy it.
Right.
By the way, you should look at our reviews on Zillow. Speaking of Zillow, it's so funny. So it says, this rating is tied to the median error, and here's the ratings as follows. Excuse me, not 5 stars. I misspoke. It's 4 stars. I don't know why I thought it was 5.
you said 4.
Okay. 4 stars, best estimate. 3 stars, a good estimate. 2 stars, a fair estimate. 1 star, tax assessor's value or unable to compute estimate accuracy. Come on. So look,
But
if
that does make sense though, because
Yeah.
they can't, they don't get the data for Utah unless somebody gives it to them.
and
Not
here's
in
the cool,
public.
yeah, and I think the cool thing is that it isn't accurate. It's at least they're sharing it.
Right.
People would never even know how to find that. By the way, 99% of the agents in the county have never seen it. We've never even seen it until recently. Like
Right.
that accuracy table, it's new to me, right? Dave, I'll take Jeremy's estimate a million times over. your house from, value from an actual local realtor, they know this town, thank you, sir. And Peyton, good morning, Peyton's one of our friends and competitors, that's what I like about it, we call it co-opetition. He's seen them 20% off.
It's true.
And by the way, we didn't mean 20% off as in like get the 20% off sale. He means 20% inaccurate.
You think about a $300,000 house, that's missing the mark by 60 grand.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it into perspective.
Holy
And a $300,000 house is the average
Yeah.
value, really, in
That's-
Washington County.
That's a swing and a miss.
350 is the average value in Washington County.
Well, and by the way, that's again why averages suck, because it's really not.
Right.
Does that make sense? You have to look at like, what are people really buying? It's 300, right? Isn't that true? So, but it's funny,
Well,
because it
between
comes.
3 and 4 is
Yeah,
a really
'cause it comes
pretty
up at
good
350.
solid market.
And what can people really afford? 250.
250, yeah. I'd say that's even lower.
So, not that what you're saying is incorrect, I'm simply saying that's why these statistics.
It's okay, you always have to.
Man, these
it's
things,
okay.
these statistics, like, so the average, again, we averaged it up, so what does this tell? Because here's the challenge with that. Now we've decided that because the average sales price is $350, that's about what people can afford, that's what we think.
Right, and there's so many people that can't.
90%, right?
Yeah.
90% of consumers are not gonna be able to buy in Washington County a $350,000 house. I think that's real. Now, here's the crazy part about it. You could argue and say, well, how's that possible? Because all the houses are selling for that much. Well, you're not taking into account how many people that don't live here that
Yeah,
are buying
we're not
houses.
necessarily a normal market. Most of our buyers are either coming in from California or Salt Lake, or somebody wanting to retire here or buy a second home, because we're really a resort market.
Yeah, we are, and you know, and look, and we get a little passionate, and so 90% is probably extreme, but a lot of folks can't afford.
There's
I
a
mean,
lot.
And certainly on a single household income, easily, that's the
Yeah.
case. So Zillow's accuracy table that they produce, so they're saying, well, we're one of 4 stars in Utah, I mean, we're not doing great. Well, they're not doing well at all, let me tell you where else they stink. This one shocks me, Texas.
Well, no, it doesn't. It's also a non-disclosure state.
That's why. Okay, Jesse, help our listeners understand what that means.
So in the state of Utah, a seller that sells their home does not have to tell the state of Utah or anybody else what they sold for. Now, that data is available through the MLS or the multiple listing service, but when we fill out the form that says we're a new resident, we do not have to tell the state what we paid for that home. So therefore, it's not
Non-disclosure.
it's not public record.
So when you look at the public record, it says that the home was sold for $10 or other good and valuable consideration. That's a
Right.
static, that's all they put on the deed.
So that's kind of confusing, because in the multiple listing service, if it was sold there, that data is there.
But we-
That's
but-
not
yeah.
shared with the state of
Yeah.
Utah, or the tax assessors.
Yeah,
Is that pretty accurate?
correct.
So what you're really saying is Zestimate is just relying on what is given to them instead of going out and getting it. So they're not working very hard to chase it down.
No,
they can't-
well, they're not.
they can't
It's
work very
it's just a
hard to
computerized model. It's a computerized model. So, okay, let's break this into real terms then. All right, so if you're considering buying or selling a home right now, and if you own a home and you've owned it more than a year, let's say you've owned it 2 years, and you've thought, I don't know if I wanna live here, I have an investment property, I don't know if I wanna sit on it, this would be that time. If you're thinking of selling because you wanna sell, because you have a reason to sell, then that's what you do. Like, how often do we get the question, is this a good time to sell? It's like, well, what did you wanna do? Well, we wanna move. It's a great time. That's a personal decision. But if you're sitting on a property where it's like, and it's an investment property, and you've been hanging around, you're wondering, I wonder if I should sell this. You probably should. Because what we're able to do is take the data, the actual history, the crazy part about real estate is we can look in the rearview mirror quite nicely,
Right.
right? We can definitely see what happened behind this. And we can take what happened behind us and make our very best guesstimate, rather than estimate, of what will happen in front of us. And what we know is that the market is at a 7-year peak, it's actually a 10-year peak, but we've been on a 7-year run. And I refer to this as the biblical account of 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty. And we had 7 years, and if you look back,
We did.
it's about right, and it's 5 to 7 years of famine, 5 to 7 years of plenty is what we see in real estate. So every bit of data that we have in front of us tells us that the market peaked in July of 2018. Peaked. past tense, right? So, you know, and you're going out there and you're like, well, I wanna get this information. We use Zillow today as our poster child. But any online, heavens, by the way, we send people to our DixieHomeValue.com, right, which is an estimated home value. It's just doing the same thing.
And sometimes it's accurate, and
Yeah,
sometimes it's
and,
not.
and we always tell folks, they get an email from us after, hey, how did it look? Did it
Yeah.
seem accurate? Because we can't even control what that automated
Right, that's true.
model
And it,
does.
and it can't, even if you tell it, it cannot know exactly what you have in the home. You know, do you have tile, do you have, granite, do you know, so an algorithm
2x6,
can never-
2x4.
An algorithm can never
Yeah.
take what you're typing in there and spit out
Yeah.
a true.
It's funny because a home is a commodity and it's also not. Meaning, it's a thing that's made up of commodities, but then they're always unique and every neighborhood is unique. And
Right, so I wanna go back to something you said earlier, because you talked about, you know, the guy from California sending you that text. And the online easy button, going online and getting this done, is kind of a trap. So we've actually sold a home, another vacation home for that same gentleman before.
Mhm.
And had it sold pretty quickly for good money. So, but the easy thing to do would be just to reach out and say, hey, you think, or the last time we hired a property manager, who, you know, a home like that needs, somebody that's selling a lot of homes, not
a full,
renting them.
a full market
Right.
presentation,
So,
right?
but that
2
was
minutes.
it was easy to do. It's easy to go on Zillow or somewhere to find your home value, but is it gonna be the best value?
Well,
Is it
so,
gonna be the best strategy?
and let's talk about, as we wrap the show up today, so if you're thinking about buying or selling, I just strongly recommend, either you call us at the Larkin Group, or you call your friend who you trust as a real estate agent, you call a professional, and visit us at soldinstgeorge.com, and you say, look, and by the way, look at Zillow, for sure, right? I mean, everyone's gonna look at Zillow, we don't have any problem with that. When I go into an appointment with a seller, I've already looked at it every time, because I need to know, okay, but what Jesse's talking about, look, when we're in this process of understanding what the consumer wants, and the consumer wants options. So if you wanna sell your home, when we meet, we're gonna give you a couple of options. And one is our instant offer program, which is where one of our investment groups can make you an instant offer on your property, cash, close, 7 to 14 days, 30 days, whatever you want. You don't have to clean it up. I mean, you have to move your stuff out. No staging, no repairs, subject to an inspection, right? They can make an offer. And that's what we call maximum convenience, right?
Yep.
Like, you don't have to go through any of the heck and hell of bringing strangers in your home and all that. But most people, as in 95% will not do that. 95% will opt to get a full market valuation and say, Jeremy, Jesse, show me how to get the most money out of my home. And that's what we call maximum value. So maximum convenience is an instant offer. Maximum value is we help you get the home staged, prepared, prepped. We market the property, we show it to lots of buyers, lots of agents, we bring people through, we negotiate a contract, and we send you on your way. So let us do that. And this is really fun. And realtors are like, how can you possibly do that? Hey, realtors that are listening right now, is this fun? You can do that too. My competitors who are listening, you can do this. Why can't you do the same thing? We have buyers lined up, investors. Now the investors, because it's maximum convenience, they're gonna pay less, right?
They are.
But everyone's situation is unique. Guys, avoid the Zillow.com trap, buying and selling. Make sure you call a pro.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. St. George Real Estate Morning Drive. Jeremy Larkin, Jesse here too. I am Andy Griffin. It's time for news.